Good morning, this is Pete.
I'm Rob.
And this is Home Matters.
97.3 Kiro FM Weekend.
Hey, back at it there, Roberto.
Yeah, how you doing, Pete?
Doing good. Actually, I'm doing really good. Got good energy today, and I didn't even have a Red Bull. So.
It was a rhetorical question. I really don't care, Pete.
I know.
You know that.
Well, I do feel good. Regardless over there, Hollywood, I'm in good shape.
You, buddy.
Yeah, I
you
know. I love you too. I love you too. We'll give you a big hug after the show. So. Today we're here. We're going to talk all about painting. All the top tips for painting. We're going to get into everything from choosing colors to prepping to the type of tools you should be picking, and then the type of paint out there. Really kind of demystifying all of this. And our chief demystifier today, we have John Shearer from Shearer Painting.
Is that the technical title?
Yeah, he's the chief demystifier in his company,
awesome.
aren't you, John?
Say it 3 times.
I'll try to be. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So we want to talk today about painting. John, you've had a painting company for what, 22
years.
22 years. Wow, he's been around the Seattle market area for a long, long time, and I know
don't stay in business that long.
Yeah, very well established.
Right?
This guy's a good guy. He's his company does very good work all around the Seattle area. We want to even get into some things about some of the historic homes you've done.
Definitely, I want to hear about that.
Yeah. So let's get started, John. As far as the painting goes, let's I look at it kind of as a process, and maybe you do too. But before we get into actually jumping on, maybe we'll talk about exterior painting first. I think probably the first thing is really looking at color choices and all about color. So maybe you can start us off with that. Talk a little bit about what is color all about and how should people think about color.
I'll give you a few quick tips that I think have helped some of my previous clients. I would say about 20 to 30% of people that have their house repainted just choose the same colors. Yeah,
Wouldn't
they
that
do.
Be like green and white or something?
That
like
makes it. It's usually some combination of green and blue are the 2 most common colors in nature. So that's what's on houses, and white as a trim color.
Well, I got 2 out of 3.
It's a good safe bet too. I'm going to make the neighbors mad. That's the one that they're used to living with, right?
Yeah.
So
Your house is yellow though, isn't it?
Yeah. Red
so you're not the norm. Anyway, so keep going. So the
other 70% of people that are repainting their house are changing colors because it's a new house to them, or they've had the same color for a very, very long time. Okay. So I would tell them that, first of all, to take the process very seriously. It's much easier to change a sweater or break up with a girlfriend than it is to divorce a paint color.
Yeah, because I guess you got to stare at that house every single day when you come home from work.
Right.
Oh yeah, and a paint job, it could be $5,000, it could be $50,000 depending upon the house. So it's something you should take seriously. I'm going to give you 3 quick tips about paint colors. First, I think you should learn a little bit about the science and language of color. I have a color blog, wonderfulcolors.org, and I have a quick article about the science of color because color is only a perception. It's actually light reflecting off objects coming back at us, and we perceive that as a color.
Wow, okay. Yeah.
And it's a physical part of nature. So we have labels like blue, red, and green. Those are our way of describing it. Color should, so first of all, you should learn a little bit about the science of color. You should learn some of the terminology, hue, value, tint, shade.
So slow down a little bit, because our that's our listening audience really is we want to know about these things. So maybe just give us a little bit of what is hue, what is tint, what is shade, what are those things?
Maybe you can touch on those things a little bit.
Sure, those are the 4 basic ones. So in order to get a perfect paint color, you'll probably want to talk about it to someone at the paint store if you want it adjusted. So hue refers to the color itself. So green, blue, the actual color.
Got it.
Value refers to the darkness of the color. So if you have a color swatch and it has a bunch of greens, they're all the same hue, but of a different value.
Right.
When you want to adjust a color, if it's a shade, you add black to it, and it makes it darker, but it's the same color. If you add, if you add white to it, it becomes a tint. Black is a shade.
So let me ask you, because I've always wondered about this. Black and white are not colors, right? Or are they colors?
They actually, that's a great question.
Because I've always wondered that, because it's like for shades, but people have told me black's not a color.
Black is an absence of color.
Right.
If there's no, like I said previously, if you have, in order to see color, you have to have light reflecting off an object coming back into your eyes.
Okay.
No light, it's all black.
So that
all the colors
inside your head, Robert.
That's right. You look
it's all black.
Ear, and it's absolutely nothing coming out.
Okay, well that's
white is a combination of all the colors. And the first person to really, well, the most famous person to prove that scientifically is Sir Isaac Newton with his prism. He divided a light beam in a room upside down, all the colors, combine it, it's all white. That's why white goes with everything, because it's a combination of all the colors.
So if you just joined us, this is Pete and Rob with Home Matters 97.3 Kiro FM. We're talking with John Shearer here of Shearer Painting, all about, right now we're talking about colors. We're going to get into everything else too. So let's get practical now. So let's say, and you know, Robert and I talk about.
I like that though. I'm just kind of bouncing around in my head there because there's nothing else in there.
Yeah, because it's all black in there.
You know, white goes with everything. Now we know why. Scientifically proven by Sir Isaac Newton. I love that.
Exactly. And you know, speaking of that, and you mentioned, you know, Robert and I are big believers in, you know, go to a paint store. We like dailies. We like Sherwin-Williams, Arata, things like that. These guys really know their stuff, and I know you like dailies quite a bit. You know, going there. So let's say, okay, now we understand about the 4 aspects of color. Now our listener is going to go actually to the paint store. So, can you talk us through maybe a simple process or some tips they can use to actually select the color and the accent colors for their home?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, when you go to a paint store, there's always a color display area. One thing you should know is the lights are all natural light. The bulbs are natural light.
Also, they put in lights to make sure you don't have to take them outside like you used to.
You don't have to take them outside.
Got it.
And
do they have rain inside those stores too?
Yeah.
they don't.
Throw some
That would really be natural.
to change the shade because that's not what it's going to look like tomorrow.
Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going.
It's always better to take an individual chip versus a swatch that has multiple colors. I always recommend for the homeowners that I'm working with that they go to stores and take individual color chips. And the reason why is if you have on a typical color fan that has, let's say, a bunch of blues, 5 of them together.
Right.
The darkest blue is going to look much darker because it's adjacent to lighter blues.
Right.
And the lightest blue is going to look much lighter than it actually is. So it's better to look at one color chip by itself. And then if you get serious about that color, it's a candidate for your wall inside or the siding outside of your house. You want to match it into paint because those color swatches are ink.
Right.
Unless you're using C2 paint, which is available at dailies, or using the color stores, which is available at Mallory Paint.
Yeah.
Those paint chips are actually paint instead of ink.
What is C2 paint?
C2 is a name brand of paint.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
And it's available at Dailies Paint. But those two color systems, their color fans are painted with, or are printed with the actual paint instead of the ink.
Oh, wow.
They're very expensive. Okay. So if you like a color, you should get it into a quart, and then you should test it on a larger scale.
Yeah.
On your house.
I was going to ask you about that because, you know, you see a lot of, especially at the big box stores, they got these little cans of paint. They say, take them home, try them out. I mean, are you a big believer in that, or should they actually have more paint, try it on a larger surface area? Because that doesn't seem like it's going to cover very much.
The advantage to the small cans is it's a very economical way to test out a color.
Okay.
$6, I think, for a little jar of color. The drawback to that is that paint doesn't represent the type of paint you're going to use in your house. So one quality that affects the way a color looks is the sheen. So I'm going to use a particular product. I'm a big fan of emulsified coatings, Benjamin Moore and Moorguard. It has some sheen to it. If you do it in a small test jar, it's much flatter. It's a lower quality paint.
Right.
I always recommend that you mix it in a gallon and paint it out on a large surface because you never know how it's going to look, and you have to put it on different sides of the house, and and the light affects the way a color will appear. Robin Daly says you should look at a color with your morning coffee, and you should look at a color with your evening Stag's Leap Cabernet, because the morning light is
I like that.
Well,
yeah.
You know, come on, Pete. You know it's me and
Although-
Johnny Walker Black Label in a cigar.
Yeah, we'd
you know,
be doing a lot of evening
You're the
looking, I think,
Cabernet
not morning looking.
You're the Cabernet guy. You know it's going to be
Overcast lighting puts a bluish cast, and when it's really sunny, it's a yellowish cast. It really affects the color.
So, you know, Chief Demustifier, we got to ask you another question here. So,
I'm ready.
So, John, one of the things too is about you mentioned sheen, and that kind of brought it up in my, because you know we got the satin, the flats, the satins, the glosses. For exterior painting versus interior painting, can you kind of help us understand when you would choose a different sheen?
Well, for durability, the highest sheen possible is always better.
And why
the
is
highest
that?
one you can
Why
live
is that,
with,
John?
right?
Well, under a microscope, flat paint looks like the surface of the moon. It has craters. That's why when you have a flat wall inside your house, like this flat wall right here, you can't scrub that off because it's a porous substrate.
Right.
You can only get the surface where the tops of the peaks are getting cleaned off, and then all the stuff down the pores, that dirt's staying in there, right?
You're right.
All that grease.
Yeah.
And a gloss paint.
Hey, I know grease, mister.
I know you know grease. So gloss.
And a gloss paint has it's a tight surface.
Okay.
So
now, is that true for exterior painting as well, or is that only for interior?
whether you should use a it's true for both. It's true for both
okay,
for
so
durability.
Gloss outside too, as well as inside.
Well, and most people don't choose to use gloss on everything because of aesthetics. So
Right,
usually
it
there's
doesn't
a
look right. When you get too
Yeah.
glossy, it just doesn't look right.
absolutely you need it on horizontal surfaces like windowsills,
Okay.
fascia boards that are more exposed. But on siding, I never recommend a flat finish. I recommend at least a satin. It's much more durable. The cost of the paint is insignificant compared to the labor installation.
Right.
Great. When we come back now, we're going to be talking on again with John. We got a bunch of other stuff to cover as far as prep, choosing your paint tools, the different kinds of paint. Whether it's latex, oil-based, all these kinds of things. John's our expert here. He's our chief demystifier. John's going to have a tip sheet too. He's going to have a top 10 tips on some of the things you can do for painting. You'll find that on mynorthwest.com/home matters. So stay tuned with us. We'll be back. I'm Pete.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Home Matters.
97.3 Kiro FM weekends.